It's like 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's really cold, like cold. So I need coffee. Get coffee, fly the drone, get the sunrise, go back home, get in a warm bed. Yeah, that sounds about right. How about that sunrise, huh? That was beautiful. Only had to wake up at like 6:30 in the morning and endure this freezing cold weather, but that's okay. It was worth it. I think it was worth it. This technology and cameras and things like this allow us to capture these beautiful things that God created for us and be able to share them with other people, but be able to have them for ourselves and sort of capture that beauty of God's creation for just a moment. And to me, that's really cool because all of these things, everything that we see around us is telling us something about God and about his creativity and about the way that he just is amazing in the way that he creates everything, the way that he displays beauty and glory for us to see. As I've started doing this photography thing, I found that there's beautiful things everywhere, even in like street signs and stuff. You can find a way to be creative and express that beauty. I just think that's really cool. So anyway, we're in Hays, Kansas, and we are visiting my wife's family. We're gonna do like a little early Christmas celebration thing. And before we do that, we're going out to Colby, I think, is where we're doing that. But it doesn't really matter because once you're in Kansas, in Western Kansas, it's all kind of the same. Yeah, it's really flat and windy. Anyway, not important. We're gonna go out, we're gonna do a Christmas celebration. We're gonna spend some time together with her family, but first we need to go to my father-in-law's house. We're in Hays, Kansas. Hays is where my wife grew up, and so we typically try to come back here every Christmas. We're doing Christmas with the family. This time it's different though. Here's why. Because typically what we'd do is we'd go to the farm. This year's different. We're not going to the farm. My father-in-law just moved from the house that my wife grew up in and sold that farm and moved into town. So this is the first time we've ever been back to Hays where we haven't been to the farm, which is kind of difficult for Carly because that's where she grew up. She's got a lot of memories there. That was it's just sort of home, you know. It's like coming home but not going home. So we're gonna take the girls out there. We want to get one last picture out there with her and the girls sort of walking off away from the farm on the dirt road that she grew up in with the sun setting behind them. So the sun's starting to go down. We're gonna go out there, try to get a good shot. So come on. So we're here in Oakley, not Colby, but pretty sure it's kind of the same thing. Anyway, we're gonna eat lunch now, which is our Christmas dinner. And then after that, we're gonna head back to York because I gotta preach tomorrow. Kind of like the way it is. Family gatherings get kind of abbreviated, but we're here, so we're gonna hang out with family, have fun, and catch up with people we haven't seen in a while. So it'll be a good time. Just went through Christmas. I feel like I need to take a nap. So I want to tell you about our Christmas, because our Christmas was kind of unique this year. Things didn't go the way that we would have thought they would have gone 10 years ago or 5 years ago or even 3 years ago. Things were different. A lot of things were different. Let me give you a couple of examples. Number one, Carly's mom wasn't there. She passed away like 3 years ago. And so this was like I think this was our third Christmas without her there. Number two, Carly's dad sold the farm that Carly grew up on. Number three, Carly's uncle had passed away recently, and so he wasn't there. And so all of these things sort of coming together made this Christmas kind of difficult, kind of different, like wasn't what we had thought it would be like a few years ago. And that can bring up all sorts of emotions and sadness, and it can actually ruin stuff. And it's not just with Christmas. It's with all sorts of things. Like, you know what I'm talking about. This can happen in all sorts of different things. So how do you deal with that? Like, what do you do when things don't go the way you want them to, or things don't go the way you'd planned for them to, or you are experiencing a huge letdown in your life because you thought things were going to go this way and they're not going this way anymore. They can't go this way anymore. And now they're going this way. Like, what do you do with that? More importantly, like, what do you do when you're sad about things because you miss the way things used to be, or you wish that things would go back to the way they used to be? So I'm going to post a link, like up here, wherever that is, to a video that John Piper did about grieving, and about how we need to grieve, and we should grieve. We should cry when things don't go the way that we expect them to. But the issue is, like, how do you move past that? Because you got to move past that at some point. So I'm going to give you three, well, it's really just one suggestion, but three maybe applications of that suggestion for how to move past grief and sorrow and be able to enjoy the holiday or the event or the experience or whatever it is in your life that sorrow is preventing you from enjoying. We need to learn to be thankful for what we have, right? I really think that this is the key to moving beyond that sorrow and healing from that sorrow. And the reason I think this is important is because if we don't enjoy the things that God has given us. We don't enjoy the experiences that we do have in our lives. And yeah, it's different. You know, this year was different. Last year was different than previous years for Christmas for us. That doesn't mean that you can't enjoy them. That doesn't mean that you can't find a new normal and find joy in that new normal. Number one, be thankful for what you did have. Right? Be thankful for what you had in the past. So we don't just ignore it. We don't pretend that it never happened. We don't pretend that it wasn't great, that it wasn't something that we really enjoyed and loved. We have to learn to be thankful for what we did have, and to use that Thanksgiving as a avenue that points us to God's good provision in giving us that in the first place. So in this case, we had an opportunity to be thankful for all of the Christmases that we did have with Carly's mom or with Carly's uncle or at their old house. Those were gifts. Those were really good things that God gave us. And we should be thankful for those things. Even though we're not experiencing them now the way that we did back then, we can still be thankful for them. And that Thanksgiving can drive us to focusing our attention on God's goodness and His grace and His mercy to us in the past. Number two is be thankful for what you do have now. one of the things about Christmas is family gathering together and celebrating together, and there's all these different traditions, and maybe those traditions look different for you now. For us, it was really hard that first year that Carly's mom was gone. Carly had a lot of expectation and anticipation of being able to watch her mom be a grandma. So that first year that she was gone, it was really, really hard. And it was hard in two ways. Number one, because she wasn't there to enjoy Christmas with Finley, but also because we'd found out the day after her funeral that Carly was pregnant again with our second child, and she'd never be able to meet this child and any future children that we have. And so there was like a sadness that came from that. But what we need to learn to do is we need to learn to be thankful for what we do have in that moment. Carly's uncle wasn't there this year, but the rest of Carly's dad's family was there. And we all got to hang out and talk. Carly's mom wasn't there, but Carly's brother was able to come into town, and we were able to spend time together, and we were able to do things together, and we were able to watch Carly's dad enjoy being around our kids, and just a lot of different things that are good. That God hasn't stopped being kind to us. God hasn't stopped being good to us. We just need to learn to see those things. And a lot of times if we're too focused on dwelling in the past, if we're too focused on the way things used to be, and not focused enough on what God is doing right now in our lives, the gifts that God is giving us right now in our lives, we can miss those gifts entirely. So yeah, this Christmas was different, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good. It doesn't mean that God has stopped being kind to us and stopped giving us good gifts. And when we see God's gifts now and are thankful for God's gifts now, that enables us to be able to see that his goodness never fails us as his children. He's always good to us. And it doesn't always look the way that we want it to look. It looks the way that he wants it to look. And what he has for us is so much better than anything that we could come up with for ourselves. And even though it might take a while for us to see that, and we might not even see that in this life, we might have to wait till the next life to see that, we're going to see that God's been working all things together for our good, including the fact that things don't look the way they used to, or that people are not there who used to be there, or Carly's mom is not able to know our other children the way that she knew Finley, or just all sorts of things like that. So number one is be thankful for the gifts that God's given in the past. Number two, don't lose sight of the gifts that God's given you now, and be thankful for those gifts that God has given you now. Number three is anticipate God's future goodness and look forward to God's goodness in your life. Be thankful for the fact that God never fails to be good to his children. He never fails to be kind to his children. He never fails to give his children every good thing that they need. And in his infinite wisdom, he knows what that looks like. He knows what we need. And we don't always. So it might not look the way that we want it to look, like it might not be the way that we pictured it being. We might not have all of our family gathered together in a perfect little Christmas the way we pictured it in our head, but God's still going to be good to us. He's still going to be kind to us. He's still going to be gracious to us. So number one, look to his goodness and kindness and grace in the past and be thankful for those things that he has given. Number two, look and see where God is being gracious and kind to you now and be thankful for what he has given you right now. And number three, anticipate God's future goodness and his future grace to you and his future kindness to you, and embrace whatever he gives you as a good gift, and anticipate and look forward to seeing that kindness and experiencing it and being thankful for it. All three of these things are aimed at us focusing on God. When we're focusing on ourselves, when we're focusing on our kids, when we're focusing on our parents, whatever it is, when we're focusing on the idea that we had of what Christmas or birthdays or graduations or grandchildren or whatever should look like, we're focusing on ourselves, we're not focusing on God. Being thankful in these three areas sort of walks us through God's faithfulness and systematically leads us to trusting in him in the future, because We know that he's been good in the past. We know that he's good to us right now. His word affirms and promises us that he'll continue to be good to us. And so we can look forward to that. And all of this is aimed at seeing God and focusing on God. Because when we are centered around God, then we're going to be able to find reasons to be thankful in any situation, in every situation. We're going to be able to enjoy the things that are different more than we would if we were focusing on ourselves. The key to enjoying these different things that happen in our lives, whether we see them as good or see them as bad, is perspective. Having the right perspective and being thankful to God in every situation. So, here's what we did. We went out to the farm that Carly's dad just sold, and we took some pictures. And the reason we did that is because we were able to go there with our 2 kids and one on the way and walk down the road that Carly grew up on and sort of say goodbye to that house and maybe some of those expectations that are never going to be met. But at the same time, when we were doing that, we had right there in front of us the evidence of God's goodness in our lives and our little kids that were walking along and skipping and picking up dirt and picking up rocks and crying and all the rest of the stuff that goes along with that. We don't forget that place. We're thankful for those memories. We're thankful for what we have now, and we're looking forward to God's faithfulness in our lives moving forward. So hopefully that's helpful to you. If it is, you can subscribe down below. You can give it a thumbs up. You can comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And hopefully this is a help to you. And man, I just really want to encourage you to focus on God in those situations where you're feeling let down or feeling like your dreams and hopes are not coming about the way that you want them to, or maybe not even coming about at all. If you're a Christian, God's good. He's not going to let you have something that's bad for you. And maybe it's that, maybe that thing that you wanted is not good for you. And you just need to learn to trust that and be thankful for what God has given you. Because there's always something to be thankful for. Check out that John Piper video. And this is just kind of my attempt at maybe putting some perspective that might help apply what he said in our lives. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.